Hello, and we are back on the air. Thank you for joining us. As I promised, we do have our expert with us. His name is Joe Silva. Good morning, Joe. How
Good
are
morning.
you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the NJ Real Estate Show. As I promised, Joe is coming to you live today to give you some good information about credit reports. Joe Silva is from Silva Financial, located in Mount Holly, New Jersey, and he as well is a comprehensive financial advisor, and he has some great information for you today. Joe, tell us a little bit about your company.
Great. Well, I am a independent financial planner located in Mount Holly, as you mentioned. I've been in business since 1998. Worked formerly for a wirehouse, a major wirehouse, as well as a large insurer. So I've seen both sides of the fence and what goes on, and now I'm an independent, able to work with just about any company for my clients' benefit.
Well, I appreciate that you would join us on the show today because, as you know, the credit report is a big issue in America today.
Absolutely.
We're primarily all made up of numbers. You know, without numbers, we can't function
Right.
financially in this system. Um, could you tell us what are some of the main credit bureaus that are out there when it comes to the credit report and the
Sure.
credit reporting that they do?
Sure. The big three that you have is Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Those are the three that most of the creditors out there will report to.
Okay. And what do these creditors usually receive? What is it, because if someone has a credit card, I'm assuming like a Sears or a Macy's or Kohl's,
Hmm.
they get a credit card, and if and does it come up on the credit report right away when they get these cards?
It might is the best answer. What happens is it depends upon the credit card company as to what they want to report to the agencies because um, sometimes it just isn't in their best interest to do it. It costs them to put that forward. So sometimes it may not show up right away. And what you'll find is when you check your credit reports, you should check all three because you'll find that some information that may be on one that's not on the other. So you want to make sure you check all three to see that the information is accurate. But yeah, that's how you'll know what information is actually present. When you apply for a credit card, usually that will also show up that you actually made an application, not just that you officially received a credit card. And sometimes that inquiry, as it's called, can be negative
Okay.
if you have too many.
What is considered to be a good credit score?
Well, what's considered to be a very good credit score is in the high 700s.
Wow,
The credits
700.
the
Did you
range.
hear that, folks? In the high 700s.
We often think because the range is spread from 350 to 800 that if you're in the middle, the average in the middle, that's an average credit rating. Well, actually, it's the way they look at it. It's pretty top heavy. So if you're in the high 700s, that's a good credit rating. The average right now, an average credit rating is about 723. Now, unfortunately, because of the economy and what we're seeing, to your point of what you spoke about earlier, with foreclosures, that number unfortunately is coming down. But that is the average at this point.
Okay, and can you tell us what someone needs to do to actually find out what they actually have on their credit report?
Sure. It, Today, it's actually pretty easy in the sense that we have access to computers. And what you can do is you can go to each of the three, again, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, to their websites and request a free credit report once a year. It's mandated by law that they have to provide to you a free credit report once a year. So once you go to their websites and request that, you can get your information and see uh, what your credit history is comprised of because that's what will actually determine your score. So in some cases, you may see Experian may give you a 700 and Equifax may give you a 680. And you may say, well, what's the difference? First of all, they have different criteria slightly that may rate you differently, but it might be simply that you have different information. You might not have the same amount of information. There may be more inquiries on one, and there may be less potential late payments or delinquencies on the other.
Okay, so you can actually, folks, did you hear that? You can actually contact the credit bureaus to actually get a free credit report. Now, if they're not able to actually get to the credit bureau, are there other resources, other places they can go on, like on the internet or by mail to request their credit report?
Absolutely. One of the easiest ways, if let's just say you don't happen to, maybe you're in a situation where you don't have access to a computer at this time, or even a phone. One of the best resources, and I say one of the best resources in general, is your local library. Go to your library,
Really?
speak to the librarian. First of all, you have internet access there as well, and usually that will be the most efficient, expedient way of getting that information. You mentioned by mail, you absolutely can get that, but I'm afraid in this day and age, uh, especially if you were in a situation where maybe you realize, gosh, I'm going to need my credit report or to verify my credit report in a couple of days because I'm looking for an apartment now, your address may be up in the air.
Mm, I
So if you
see.
go to the library, you can get that access, get on the internet, and a librarian will help to guide you. A resource specialist will help to guide you, get that information from the internet, and then in turn be able to print that out and actually have a hard copy in your hand. Unfortunately, what's happening now, as I understand this, when people are saying, "Gosh, I need to look at my credit report," it's usually not a forward planning procedure. It's something they're saying, "Well, I need it. I need it because someone just told me I didn't qualify." And you want
Right.
immediate information verification. Why did I not qualify? Um, and by going to the library, if you don't have immediate access, you can get that information right away and verify what might not be actually true and correct on it.
Mm. And what can someone do to fix their credit report? Let's say they run their credit and they see something
Mhm.
that's on there. They say, I never had this. This is not mine. Or
Right.
maybe they even forgot about it or thought I paid this a long time ago, years ago. Why is this still on here, showing like it's delinquent? And I said, what can someone do?
That's a great point. That's a great question. What first of all, what people have to realize is that your credit score is comprised of your credit history. So whatever makes up your history will determine the score. So if you have information there that is not correct, you see that your example that you have a credit card that you paid off a long time ago and is still showing as open. What you need to do first of all is write a letter to the credit reporting agency and specify and say this is not correct. This is wrong. Secondly, they may require you to write to that credit card company to obtain proof that in fact it is closed. We would like to think it's an easy process to punch a button, and unfortunately, it is tenuous. You do need to be proactive and actually do some things in order to correct your credit report, but it's not impossible. So once you send out those letters, they will in turn get back to you and say, again, you please provide us some proof, some information, send that to them. And I would always recommend that you try to send that with some type of receipt so that you can verify that you did send it at a certain time, and that way you can always have a paper trail to verify that that information was sent in. But that is usually the way you need to go. It would be the same thing also if they're showing possibly different addresses that you don't, that's not your current address, different names. Sometimes when they pull credit reports, if you have a similar name to somebody locally, they may
Mm.
show. I've seen on my credit report John Silva. I said, well, I'm not John Silva. I'm
Right,
Joe
sure.
Silva. And I have a cousin John Silva, but not anywhere in the area. So that's probably an error, and I need to get that
Mm.
corrected. So you write to the agency and explain this is incorrect. This is not true. This is not my current address. And they are man, they have to correct that. They may want to verify that in fact that isn't true. But usually, again, in the case of a name, it's pretty simple, and an address as well with a utility bill, something like that, to have that corrected. But you want to make sure that that information is right if in fact you find it's not corrected. Another key reason that you want to look at that, and if you see something that's not correct, it may not just be something that you
Mm.
are seeing is something that you already closed or took care of, but it may be something that you completely don't recognize. And this is a key point. Another good reason to look at your credit report is that there may be identity theft. Identity theft today is one of becoming one of the increasingly major criminal activity that's going on out there.
Mm.
People aren't going out there, and well, unfortunately, still are, but to a certain degree, there's less activity of trying to steal money from your going to the bank with a gun, but instead, there's criminals out there, white collar criminals, especially in Europe, all over the world, that are trying to get your information. And once they get that key piece of information, social security number, date of birth, where you live, I mean, how many times often are you on the phone when all they're asking you to verify who you are is your social security number? Sometimes it's just your last four.
Really?
And then your, of
Wow.
course, address. Once you have those pieces, well, gosh, anyone can then say, I'd like this. I'd like an extension on my credit card, one that you may not have taken out in the first place. So you need to verify that that information on there is correct. Someone may be using your social security number in other states. I've had situations where clients have discovered that through Patriot Act verification methods, and it's been innocent. It may be a social security number was transposed; it was backwards. But the fact is that someone else was reporting on their credit report because it was their social security number. So it's important in this day and age where there are a lot more scams that you have. Uh, online and by phone. You mentioned earlier the someone to help fix your credit. There are a lot of these coming up today. Unfortunately, people strike, criminal activity strikes where they see there's opportunity. Right now, there's a lot of fear. People are afraid, and they want. You made a good point. If it sounds too good to be true, second, always question it.
Sure.
I find this many times in my line of business when it comes to investment activity. People come to me and say, Joe, there's a company that they promised this, that, and the other thing. Well, you know, if that was the case, then a lot of people would probably be in it, and you would see the returns, of course, going that direction. There are very few things that can be considered sure things. Taxes, death, unfortunately. But aside from that, yeah, you really need to do your homework. Um, if it's a not for profit, that's usually a good start when you're looking at credit
I see.
agencies that help fix your credit. It's not a guarantee, and they still may charge you because not for profit doesn't mean that they don't charge. It just means that it's how their corporate structure is filed, and that at the end of the day, when they file their taxes, they show no profit. But that doesn't mean their employees don't get salaries and things of that
Mm.
nature. So, but that usually is a helpful tool. And the other is simply doing the homework online, looking up, asking for referrals, asking a question. Again, same
Of
situation.
course.
You're a realtor in your line of business. You know, if someone has a question, you have experience with other agencies that have helped. They should be coming to an expert like yourself. Hey, Anthony, can you help me out? Do you know of someone? And if not, like myself, you can get that information. And
Excellent.
that's
Well, when we come back, Joe is going to let us know and explain to us and give us the tool and resources of how exactly we can go ahead and fix our credit. So we'll be right back.